Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about what went down in the city of Los Angeles in Fairfax with this trash house. You may have seen images like this all over the internet, and be assured this is a real thing. Those are real trash bags. And this story, while amusing on its surface, actually has a tragic component to it, but further on, there's actually a positive resolution that recently was revealed an hour before I'm shooting this video. So we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about this. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And remind you that on Saturday, April 27th, I will be at Mindsfest. Link to tickets, top of the description. Promo code AJW for 20% off.
Now to a home in the Fairfax district surrounded by hundreds of bags of trash that just keep piling up, and residents are fed up. Tonight, neighbors are pleading for help from city officials to clean up the so-called trash house and get help for that homeowner.
So yeah, what you're looking at right there is reality. This is a house that is in the Fairfax area of, I believe, Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure it's covered under there, although I don't know how their neighborhoods versus little cities work. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, it's just an absolute mess. I believe people have estimated there might be over 600 trash bags in this particular area. From a written article, I actually discovered that neighbors were complaining about the odor of plastic, not even the garbage itself, but since these bags have all these scents and different things and they're cooking in the sun, they're smelling melted plastic all the time, and it's an absolute disaster. And by the way, a disaster that honestly could be pinned on the previous mayor of Los Angeles, but not the current mayor and not the mayor before that, which we will go into as we're going over this particular story.
Mike and Cher, as you can see behind me, the home is surrounded with piles and piles of bags, and neighbors say that it's not just a health hazard for those who live on this block, but also for those who live inside. Tonight, there's a call to action. The piles and piles of rubbish are hard not to miss from the sidewalk, even from above. This home in the 600 block of Martel Avenue in Fairfax has become a mounting eyesore, with its exterior covered with bags from front to back.
So one of the things that they emphasize throughout this segment is the mental health aspect of this situation, because you have a homeowner, he's been there for a very long time. It appears from what is being described, he seems to be up there in age and losing his mind. However, this is a failure of the city of Los Angeles for allowing this to go along for so long, especially considering in these major left-wing metropolitan areas, if you so much as cut a tree on your own property, they're going to be on you with tickets and all that crazy stuff. But in this case, it appears to be a complete non-problem. Now, at first, I thought maybe, just maybe, that their rules and protections fought for by the ACLU for homeless people to keep their trash all over the place because that's their property and taking it away would be a violation of their constitutional rights might be what is at issue here, but it appears that the problem that we had right here was an attention issue, even though the neighbors have been complaining about it for a very long time. Even though it's become a problem, it just never really got the media attention that it deserved.
Many people walking around here, and then they stop and look, what?
Neighbors have complained, saying the collection of items has only gotten worse, triggering sanitation concerns.
Because apparently the only way to get things done in any of these major liberal cities, and even sometimes that doesn't work, is to shame the politicians that allow this to go on. Now, we're going to roll a little bit more into this segment, and I'm going to kind of let you guys understand why I'm not taking such a jovial tone in this, why I'm not laughing at how crazy this is, because it is actually quite sad when you think about it, when you get past how insane it looks and analyze what's going on in this man's life, who again, it's not just throwing trash all over his property, but it's in and out of his property. There's definitely something going on here, and I think it is worthy of having some consideration and some compassion for this man. Now, they should definitely clean up all that trash immediately, get rid of it, but you should be sympathetic to the mental illness that this person clearly seems to be going through. Now, I also want to point out that that car right there that is surrounded by trash, completely useless. There is no way you could drive that car as it is buried in the trash. And yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty horrible. And they keep talking about as an eyesore, but it's also a health hazard as they get into later in this segment. But the fact that you can even see it clearly as a total disaster from above, and again, this has gone basically unchecked for a very long time. You're going to find out the last time they got on this guy's case about this, is honestly very shameful, because he could be in danger, the neighbors could be in danger, there's children that are around this area, and all of them have to deal with the plastic odor cooking in the sun. It can't be good to breathe that in, and all these other potential hazards associated with this trash. Now, I understand technically when you throw trash out, it's not a problem for the public until it's on the curb, and it's still your private property when it's on your property. But considering the way that they crack down on people for all these different other ordinances in cities like Los Angeles, this one seems rather absurd to let go for so long. Like, he didn't put 600 trash bags on the front of his property overnight. It's been here for a long period of time, and somebody should have done something earlier.
It's obviously a health hazard for all of us. We've got children, and lots of people like to walk their dogs around here, and, it's a nice neighborhood, and we all try and do the right thing and keep our places tidy.
Other neighbors are sympathetic and want the homeowner to get the help he needs.
So I thought it was weird earlier that this guy called all this trash rubbish. I thought that was very British. And then we got some guy with an accent. It might not be British, but I'm going to pretend it is for the sake of this argument, even though he could be Australian. And he makes a solid, sensible case. All these neighbors keep their places tidy and all that, but they have to deal with the consequences of this guy flooding his house with trash. And just imagine if you were trying to sell your property and people come and look at it and they realize it's a trash house. And of course, the prospective buyer would be like, is anybody taking care of that? And they say, the city's on it. We called them about 10 years ago. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. And, they said they're going to look into it and maybe get back to us. But anyway, look at my house. It's nice. Ignore the smell from the plastic and the trash and all the problems that are associated with over there. And please buy my house. Obviously, this is going to cause you problems. And while there's a lot of things that I find annoying about homeowners associations and whatnot, and how tedious they could be, this is kind of why you have homeowners associations, so that they could look into this. This is also kind of why you have sanitation policy, because this is obviously not safe for the general population, for anybody who walks by there. And this guy said that he likes, or the neighbors like, to walk their dog by this place. I wouldn't do that, because I would be afraid that the dog would pick something up or eat something that would be bad for him, because all of these bags are just baking in the Los Angeles sun day after day after day, to the point where it's been years.
It's tough, because this could be a sanitation issue for all of us, whether it attracts vermin or something like that, and affects the quality of life.
I know this man's been living there for 20, 25 years. He's a friendly guy. He's harmless. He just has some kind of, behavior that's obviously not nice for the neighborhood.
Now, I don't know why so many people are refusing to appear on camera in this situation. Maybe it's because their liberal progressive friends would be mad at them if they actually acknowledged that this was a problem. But to be clear, in many other stories, I criticize people for jumping to mental illness as an excuse, but this is mental illness. It looks like that's what it is to me. Maybe even possibly dementia if this guy is as old as they're implying throughout this segment. And yeah, you should do something about it. Bring in the extreme hoarders therapy people in order to fix this, because yes, this is a legitimate problem. And people are saying it could be a sanitation issue. It could attract vermin and whatnot. And I can't imagine that it hasn't already, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Records indicate the property owner was cited and fined for various code violations dating back as far as December of 2014. Residents say the owner cleaned up his act, but the mess has since returned. Some want the city to step in and take immediate action.
He says, yeah, I'm working on it. It's like, I don't think it's going to really go anywhere unless the city gets involved and really asks them to do it.
Yeah, so they said that this problem actually dated all the way back to 2014, where he was cited for this. They actually sent people out, and guess what? For a while, he cleaned up his act. He ended up solving this problem, which is a good thing. I'm happy that he did that. But as the next resident says, unless that action is taken again, unless a little bit of pressure is applied to him, we're not going to see any significant change. And I did say previously that I blame the previous mayor, Garcetti, because he seems to be incapable of doing anything, but not the current mayor, Karen Bass. And the reason I believe that's the case is because after this segment was aired, they brought the issue up to Karen Bass, and as of an hour ago, she says, yeah, we're going to do something about this today, and if not today, tomorrow.
I don't know how to describe this any other way than to say that this is just a tragedy. I mean, this is awful, and obviously this has been developing for months. I worry about the individual that is in this home. I'm not sure, maybe you guys know if he's actually there today. But one thing that I can tell you is that we are going to do everything we can to begin to clear this today. I don't want to hear about any process or whatever. This, to me, is a public health emergency. This is a fire hazard. And I worry about the individual there, this place catching fire, him losing his life, the quality of life that is compromised for these neighbors. We just spoke to several of them, and I assured them that we are going to mobilize any and every city agency, and this will be dealt with today.
Look, I have to give credit where credit is due. Karen Bass is nowhere near as bad as I thought she would be. She's significantly better than Eric Garcetti, the previous mayor, much in the same way that Eric Adams, somebody who I'm not really a fan of, is better than Bill de Blasio, his predecessor. And she came out next day and said, you know what, we're going to fix this right now. We're going to deal with this because this is a public health emergency. I'm going to cut through the red tape and solve this problem that's been plaguing this neighborhood. And again, this is something that her predecessor, Eric Garcetti, seemed completely incapable of doing. Anytime there was a proposal, anytime residents of Los Angeles voted to raise their own taxes to try to improve their community, this is a guy who consistently would get bogged down in the red tape, the regulations, much of which he backed and supported and even instituted himself, that prevented him from doing anything. And gotta be perfectly honest, Karen Bass has done a couple of moves, made a couple of changes in Los Angeles where she just kind of bucked the regulation, and I can only wish that certain Republican mayors would do that in these kind of situations, because that would lead to effective and brief change, because that can be quite an effective governing model if used appropriately, where appropriately, and this is definitely the case. So Karen Bass came out the very next day. She said, we're doing the cleanup, we're declaring this a health emergency, we're cutting through the red tape, and we're going to remove the trash, and if there's political consequences or legal consequences from an organization like the ACLU, we'll deal with that after these neighbors' suffering is alleviated. This is very similar to one of the things that she did, which was take advantage of a rainstorm earlier in the year to try to move people from the Venice Beach encampments that built up, and I appreciate her, and I give her credit for this in this action. I'm not a fan of her overall. I would have probably not voted for her in the city of Los Angeles. In fact, I definitely wouldn't have voted for her in the city of Los Angeles were I a resident, but facts are facts, and this is a good move. I don't care what political party you come from, whether you call yourself a progressive, a libertarian, a conservative, a liberal, or any label you possibly can choose. If you advocate or put into action good policy, at least on that particular issue, at least on those particular actions, I will support you. So again, credit where credit is due to Mayor Karen Bass for actually mobilizing city resources in order to deal with an immediate health problem. Now look, I don't want to expand what this means or what this implies or what this infers so far beyond what is actually going down and how simple this is, which is a trash cleanup. But if we had an attitude like this, that Karen Bass at least showed in this particular instance, after it was brought to her attention, we would be able to address problems with the homeless population in the United States of America far, far quicker, because the issue that a lot of people immediately are dealing with is the destruction, is the blight, is the problems created by these homeless people. And people always say, well, that's because of mental illness and all these other things that are going on within the mind of said homeless person. But the fact of the matter is, you take care of the eyesore, you take care of the nuisance to the public first, and then you could address the mental illness.
One of the things that's astounding, and I know I've said it earlier before, it looks like a trash truck has actually pulled up and dumped all of these trash bags. It's actually unfathomable to see it right here in front of us. And we have spoken to so many residents who have seen the media around us. Frank and Jessica, there are at least 12 cameras surrounded by me. I mean, people from Network, people from Japan, and Ed is going to sort of pan over so you can kind of get an idea of just how many media reporters are here. And so residents in this area pulled aside when they saw us and said, oh my gosh, are you here because you're here to announce that this is going to get cleaned up? Because we drive past it every single day and see it and hope that something is going to change.
Now look, I get that this guy is actually a homeowner and therefore he has less rights than the God tier rights that are granted to squatters and homeless people. But imagine if we dealt with this the same way they appear to only be capable of dealing with issues with the homeless, where we don't address their trash, their filth, or anything like that, and we go straight for treatment. You would have to send mental health professionals in through this hazard in order to talk to this guy in the hopes that you could convince him to clean it up. I prefer cleaning it up first and then talking about treatment, then working on this guy's issues so that it doesn't happen again. I don't need him to be cruelly punished or anything like that, but how about you work with him after you remove him from the dangerous and filthy circumstances that he put himself in, and we can have a better Los Angeles. We can have a better nation if we just embrace that attitude. Look, believe me, the first thing that drew me to this story was Trash House, Los Angeles, how fitting, but in reality, there is a chance for a good ending. There is a chance for some hope here, and we gotta give credit where credit is due to the neighbors, definitely to KTLA, and yes, to Karen Bass of all people for stepping up in this particular situation. Keep that idea that you can cut through the red tape and make power moves like this in order to make the community better in your mind going forward, and you'll be a great mayor of Los Angeles. And yes, I just said that about a progressive Democrat in the city of Los Angeles, but that just goes to show you how bad Garcetti actually was. Just like when I praise Eric Adams, a lot of times that just goes to show you how bad Mayor Bill de Blasio was. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, then show them by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Trash House in Los Angeles and the positive end to the story, which is they're cleaning it up. Till next time.